Hello, hello. Welcome. All
Hey,
right.
Eli. Hey,
How's
folks.
it going? How's it going?
Hey
Feel free to.
everyone.
Hey, Mike. Hey, DeClerc. Hey, Danger. Hey, Adesh. Hey, Arbitrum, Chainlink, and DefiEdge community and the greater Web3 space. So, as the title says, today is a Chainlink automation workshop. So we have DeClerc and Mike Stone from Chainlink, as well as Adesh and Danger from DefiEdge protocol. We'll get started by explaining what Chainlink automation is, the benefits of it, and we'll get into how Arbitrum devs can use automation. We'll do a live demo. We'll be sharing some slides, and then we'll talk with DefiEdge a bit about how to use automation, like through limit orders, and advice for devs about automating. So, without further ado, DeClerc, why don't you introduce yourself and explain what Chainlink automation is, what everyone's here to learn about.
Awesome. Thanks, Eli. Right. My name is DeClerc. I'm a product manager at Chainlink Labs, and we also have Mike. Mike, you want to do a quick introduction?
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Stone. I'm the go-to-market lead for automation at Chainlink Labs.
Cool. Just bear with me 1 second. I just quickly want to give access to the specific presentation that I have.
And just so everyone knows, we'll be taking a little Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, feel free to hold them until then, and we'll address some of those.
I think we're nearly there.
Great.
Anyway, so I see it's loading. Can you see that, Eli?
Not yet.
Okay. It says it's processing. Fine. I think while we're waiting for it to process the slides and before we can start showing them, I guess I'll do a quick introduction into, get us started on what is the need for automation. So if you think about modern Web3 dApps, you really need automation. And I guess today most decentralized applications or dApps are fairly simple when you compare them to traditional Web2 apps. And this is mainly because of a lack of background processes and automation. So you can't change the state of the blockchain unless someone calls a function to change it. And so in other words, you won't get a response unless somebody actually somewhere pushes a button. The response is not going to appear by itself. So since we're all talking to developers here, you've probably encountered this somewhere, and you may have decided to spin up your own stack, set up an AWS instance or GCP, etc., and to try and automate. And so this is really where automation steps in to help you build experiences to become more powerful and engaging for your end users, and help you build massively value creation dApps. Let's just see how far. Cool. Can you? No, it still says there was an issue. Okay. I'm going to see if I can do this another way and just share my entire screen, which is kind of risky. But let's see. Okay.
I can try for you, DeClerc, if you'd like.
Mike, yeah, if you could do that, that'll be awesome.
We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Let's see if we can wing this.
All right, is that visible? Cool.
It is.
Hey,
there it is.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Lifesaver. That's why you need a good go-to-market. They know, they know the real magic. Thanks, Mike. Okay, cool.
Sure.
We can skip to the next one. So when I say Chainlink automation provides automation, let's quickly look at what happens. We use a decentralized network of nodes, and what these nodes do is they will constantly check your job. We call it an upkeep, and they will check whether the conditions are met, and these are the conditions that you specified. Say, hey, when these conditions are met, I want you to go and call my smart contract function. And these might be things such as, um, DefiEdge can explain later on, like, is the price crossing my limit order? Should we go and execute this trade? Should we go and like fire off the limit order? It might be something else. For example, it might be time based, it might be block based. Let's say you need something to run 8 a.m. on the first of every month. These are all different triggers that you can provide. And so these nodes effectively monitor those triggers. And when they find that the contract or the upkeep is eligible, as we say, it'll actually go ahead and then transmit the transaction on chain. And I guess this is also where a bit of the power of automation comes in. We use something called the Chainlink core node, and this is the same core node that we use throughout all the other Chainlink products. And it has a built-in transaction manager. It takes care of gas management, nonce management, reorgs, everything. So, and it's really built to land transactions on chain. And I think we've delivered, I can't recall the latest stat, somewhere between 1 and 2 billion prices through our data feeds on chain. And in automation, we've also executed upward of a couple of million transactions, be it in mainnet or testnet.
Damn.
Mike, let's jump to the next one if you don't mind. Cool. Okay. So why do you want to use automation? I guess the real benefit comes down to four things. Firstly, automation that is not reliable doesn't really count as automation. If you think about that limit order example, if it's not going to fire the transaction when the price is crossed, like the automation is not going to be, it's not going to be worth the paper it's written on. So you really need something that can provide reliable and performant automation. If you think about some use cases, let's say prediction markets, these are games that basically run at frequent intervals, and something needs to happen, let's say every 5 minutes, for example, pancake swap or odds. And so you'll find that automation needs to be firing rapidly and be reliable. Otherwise, you start really breaking down the UX, that experience. Um, Secondly, it should enable innovation. Now, this is one of my favorite things. I think most developers really enjoy the fact that you get to innovate on behalf of users. And just as though you innovate on behalf of your users in your dApps, we want to innovate on your behalf with automation and enable you to do more. So really get you to build those powerful user experiences that are needed to grow dApps in your ecosystem. To grow developers in your dApp and dApps in your ecosystem. Um, Thirdly, it should accelerate scaling. A lot of people always, have the saying of like, but if we get into a scaling challenge, that's a great problem to have. But really think about it. The moment you kind of reach that point where, hey, we need to scale rapidly, if you don't have a plan, then it's not a fun scenario to be in. And this is what automation allows you to do. It allows you to scale your, be it if you want to do upkeeps per user or have an upkeep that can scale with the volume of transactions needed. This is something we provide. And again, I'm going to lean back to, this battle-hardened transaction manager that we have that we've been testing for 3 to 4 years, or not testing, using on live on mainnets, basically landing transactions on chain. And I think fourthly, it's really about cost savings. When I started the conversation, I said, hey, you may have encountered this problem and you probably decided to go and spin up your own maybe your own cloud instance to automate a contract. And so that might be fairly simple and easy to do. But if you want to build something that is production ready, that has production support, that has like, you start talking about uptime, supporting this thing, innovating on it, improving on it, making changes as, chains, apologies, or networks like update their underlying infrastructure or gas estimation processes. All of these things start taking time, and pretty soon you'll find you have like a team of developers who are just looking out for automation. And that's really one of the benefits that we provide, because this is what we do. This is what we focus on. So next one, Mike, if you don't mind. And I think the last thing for me is really to say automation is easy to use. As you'll see in Mike's demo, all it really takes is two functions on your contract. The first one really is check upkeep, and it is These functions are basically so our nodes know how to interact with your contract. Check upkeep is where you provide the conditions. When these conditions evaluate true, the nodes know, okay, I need to now go and send a transaction on chain. What transaction? Well, that's easy. I just go and call the perform upkeep function. And right, I think that's all from my side. Thanks so much, everybody. Mike, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Declare.
Thanks, Eli.
Yeah, I'll stop. Okay, cool. All right, yeah. So thanks for that, DeClerc. In terms of usage of Chainlink automation, we've seen some really interesting use cases crop up over the past few years since this has been live. So things like what DefiEdge here have built with limit orders. We've seen some really interesting lottery type applications that people have built using both Chainlink automation and BRF. We've seen people use it in interesting DeFi use cases like automated rebalancing, harvesting, really interesting kind of automated strategies and things like that. Prediction markets, we've seen it used for automated governance, for gaming. So there's lots and lots you can do with automation. The world is kind of your oyster when it comes to this stuff. So I want to bring up my screen again, if that's okay, and I'd like to go through a quick demo of kind of a sample contract of what it would look like to develop against Chainlink automation on Arbitrum. We can go through the deployment of one of these upkeeps, and then we can watch it run quickly. And then afterwards, I'd like to pass it over to DefiEdge to talk about what they've built. So let me bring up my screen here.
I'm ready for it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Cool. So what I have up on the screen, assuming everyone can see it, oh, well, now you should be able to see it,
yeah.
Is the Chainlink documentation. And we're in this section for creating compatible, keeper compatible or automation compatible contracts. And what you'll see in this example, and I'll try to zoom in a bit more, are the two functions that DeClerc had called out. So we've got this check upkeep function and the perform upkeep function. And what we're doing in this contract for the example, very simple example, is waiting a predefined period of time, some interval, and then we're increasing a counter. And what this shows is that these automation nodes are constantly checking this contract, every single block actually, to see if this time interval is passed. And then when that evaluates to be true, it'll trigger perform upkeep, which simply increases the counter. So you can see in check upkeep here, upkeep needed is just a Boolean. And this is that time check to say, is the current block timestamp greater than the interval that we have set, minus the last timestamp we have set on the contract. And then as soon as this is true, the nodes will say, all right, we performed this simulation, and those simulations are free, and you never pay for that. So as soon as this is true, let's send this perform upkeep transaction on chain. And again, it'll do this check, as you can see in this if statement. It'll set the timestamp and then increase the counter. So we've already gone ahead and deployed this on Arbitrum. So I have Arbiscan up here. You can see the contract. And what I'll do is I'll just grab the contract address, and I'll show you the process of deploying this contract against the automation network. So what I'll do is in this other tab, I've got automation.chain.linkup. So this is the main interface that you'll be interacting with to.
Oh, Mike, just a quick call out. You're still sharing the doc screen.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay.
I may have to reshare, I guess. Share this tab instead. All right, got it. Okay, so now you should see the automation page. So this is automation.chain.link. Once you get to this page, you can simply connect your wallet, and we'll go through the process of registering a new upkeep against the network. So we'll click register new upkeep here. At this point, you'll be presented with two options. First option is a time-based option. So this is just a very simple way to call a certain function in your contract, maybe a contract that already exists, on a schedule that you define. So maybe there's something that you want to call every hour, or maybe there's a lottery that you want to run once a day. You can define, again, that like request random number function on whatever time schedule you define, and you'd use a cron expression to define when that should run. What we're going to be doing today is custom logic. And custom logic is simply saying use that format that we went through earlier, the check upkeep and perform upkeep, and I want the automation to network to check those two functions and run them when they can. So I'm going to paste in my the contract that we deployed earlier. And what we can do here is we'll set the upkeep name, call this test. We could set the admin address. Here you can also see we've got a gas limit. This is just setting the max amount of gas that we want to use in any given transaction. So if it goes over this, we just won't send it. This is a way to protect you. We'll set a starting balance in link. This link will be used to fund the transactions. This is how you'll pay for the transactions that are ultimately sent on chain. You've got check data here, which is an input that isn't important for this demo, but we could talk about later on. And then some additional info, accept the terms, and we'll call register upkeep. Now, what you probably can't see is my MetaMask popped up, but I think everyone likely knows what that looks like. I'll confirm the transaction, and you can see this upkeep has been created. Now that the upkeep has been created, you can actually see we've already, a transaction has already been sent because it's already evaluated to true, right? Because the time interval that we set had already passed because we deployed this previously. But there's all sorts of other information here, like the balance of link, the upkeep ID, the address, information about the registry that we're calling this on, all these other things. So that's the process. It's fairly simple, very straightforward. And I highly advise everyone on the call to mess around with this, deploy contracts on Arbitrum, on any other network that you'd like to, come up with creative use cases. Let us know. And what I'd ask is join us in our Discord if you'd like. If you have any questions, we'll be able to answer them there. You can also head to the docs, as I showed you earlier, to learn more about automation. And then lastly, be sure to check out this automation.chain.link page to deploy these on your own. So from here, I'd like to pass things off to the DefiEdge team. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Amazing.
That was great.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the wonderful introduction to Chainlink Automation, and it's great to be here. First of all, thank you, LA, Mike, and Dick Clark for hosting this workshop. I think it's quite important to learn about Chainlink Automation, and of course, I think Chainlink has been working quite hard, and they have put in many hours in building this technology, and we have been using it for triggering our limit orders. And in this introduction, I'll try and convey all the things that we are using Chainlink for. And I have with me Adesh from the dev team, and he'll also be introducing because he's the one who handled the all integrations for the Chainlink automation. And I think he's the one who will be able to introduce to the devs how easy it is to use and how they can even automate their tasks. So Adesh, could you share the screen as well? We have a short slides prepared that would highlight some features.
Yeah, just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
We have some enthusiastic community members asking some good questions. We'll get to you at the very end. Don't worry. Stick around.
Yeah. It's good that the community is enjoying this session, right? And I think Arbitrum is a budding blockchain, and I think things like Chainlink is something supporting the community.
I love hearing the street sounds. I feel like I'm immersed.
Yeah, just uploading the slides. Just give me a minute.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think while we wait, do you think it might make sense for us to try and address a couple of the questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. LA, I see you mentioned about the streets and everything, because one of our team members getting married today, and we just went to his wedding, and I think this is we are just returning, and so we thought let's not get on the EMI. Why not get on the EMI while traveling?
From wedding to workshop. Amazing.
Exactly, exactly. We
Congrats.
left his wedding early because the workshop is something we cannot miss.
Of course. Yeah, De Klerk, why don't you address? Did you want to take Alex's first question?
Yeah, so Alex, thanks for the question. You said you're interested in discussing how to fund and manage multiple upkeeps from one smart contract, and that is definitely something that is doable. We sometimes refer to it as programmatically managing and creating upkeeps, and we have a section in our documentation that I can find and share with you that specifically goes about the process of how do you create upkeeps from within Solidity and how you can fund them. And also excited to say that in an upcoming version that we hope to launch in the very near future, we simplified the process even more. So you don't necessarily have to use the UI. You can use a Solidity contract and interact directly with the registry and the registrar. And I think to actually, let me just quickly check, not to steal the show here. Adesh, how are you looking on slides?
He's got the slide up there. He's ready to
Ah,
go.
great. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Let's do that then.
Cool.
cool. I see the
Right.
screen now, right?
Yep, you're up
Cool,
there.
amazing. So to give a brief introduction to the community, Michael, so we are an asset management protocol that is built on top of Uniswap V3, and we are decentralized, permissionless, and non-custodial. What that basically means is anyone can create a strategy or add funds to any strategy, and it's not limited to just those features. There are several features that are not natively available on Uniswap V3, but we do offer the strategy managers, such as creating 20 plus ranges, or the ERC20 tokens instead of the ERC781, and we save 33% in gas fees because we directly interact with the Uniswap V3 core and we don't mint the NFT, and this saves a lot of gas. Then we have integrated with OneInch, because while rebalancing, we quite uh, we did research and we saw that there are silos that are created, because when there is only one counterparty, when you are the only ones who have provided liquidity and there's no counterparty, then you cannot swap, and this results in a lot of slippage. So to prevent that, and so that the users get minimal slippage while rebalancing, we have integrated OneInch. And what you can do is it routes the swap to several exchanges that OneInch supports, and it guarantees the best rates and you experience minimal slippage. Also, we have integrated Chainlink automation for the limit orders, and this limit orders thing is quite intuitive, because on the forum also, Uniswap forum, we are recently reviewing that many people require a order book on Uniswap B3. Of course, it is not natively available on Uniswap B3, but this feature is a game changer, because of course that Uniswap B3, when you provide ticks, when you provide liquidity in several ticks, even in out of range, those actually act as a limit order. You can buy and sell at the desired price, and this is actually a order book where you provide the liquidity and you can get your orders executed. And to enhance that feature, we needed an automation, uh, we needed an automation protocol, and here Chainlink came through. And of course, we were using Chainlink for the feeds as well, right? We wanted to make our feeds, we wanted to make that the share price that we mint are extremely accurate. So we use Chainlink oracles and we get the feed prices there, and we then compare it with the spot price, and then only we mint the share, so that the depositors do not suffer any vulnerability. So that is where we were using Chainlink beforehand. And then when Chainlink approached us that they are bringing on automation, we were like, this is something, it's a perfect match for us. And then we integrated Chainlink automation, and now as you can see on the screen as well, so we have given several options, and one option being for the strategy managers to create a limit order. And here you can select the keepers, and here you can in a few steps you could set up a contract. Then you can get a upkeep URL where all the tasks for a specific strategy you could see there, and then you could also add the funds. We need the link token to get the limit orders executed, of course, right? Because the automation needs the gas fees always running. So here you can add that link token here, and you can get access to the tasks there, right? And here, Anish, can we move to the next screen?
Yeah.
Right. So this is the rebalance page, right? So here, what users can do is they can create 20 plus ranges, and they can even deploy the unused liquidity. And they can swap out from few ranges and add it to one range or two range altogether in one single click. And here, what you can see is you can set limit orders, right? So here we have created a range that is out of range. Basically, it's not in it's away from the current price, and here you could buy and sell. So for example, you want the current price of ETH is say 1,000, and you want to buy ETH at say 800. You could add liquidity to a tick say 800 to 810, and the Chainlink automation comes into play, and it would track the price of ETH on Uniswap V3. And whenever the Chainlink price goes to 800, it would buy, and the funds from that ticks would be added to our contracts. And if the user has to sell ETH at the desired price, what they'll do is, if the current price is 1,000, they could add the liquidity to 1190 and to 1,200, and it would sell ETH at that price. And Chainlink automation would, keep monitoring the price. And whenever the ticks get hit, the Chainlink automation, the task is eliminated and the liquidity gets added to the contracts. Right. It's a very straightforward thing. The UI is so intuitive that a normal user who comes in the first place, they could get a clean instance of what is happening here, right? And we recently, we got the Uniswap rewards, and the users who actually come, they came here and they tried out the strategies not just on one network, but they came on several networks, and we saw volume increase on all the networks, not just one. And the users seem to be very happy, using the limit orders and the different features. And of course, the security is the major, and Chainlink is playing an important role in helping that. So I think that's something we are really happy to integrate with Chainlink, and of course, Arbitrum as well. And the integration part, how the Chainlink automation was quite easy to integrate. And I would like Adesh to, because he's the one who integrated Chainlink
Yeah.
automation. Adesh, just a few lines about how the process went and how easy was it to integrate, a Chainlink automation.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing is the Chainlink does the fantastic job of launching automation agent in decentralization, because there is a lack of automation agents in smart contracts in decentralized infrastructure. And the implementation of the automation of the Chainlink automation is very clear. It's straightforward, and it's easy to integrate. In DefiEdge, we created a upkeep factory for the Defi on top of DefiEdge, and using that upkeep factory, strategy manager can launch his own limit order contract. And it's really easy to like integrate and use. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. And exactly. I think the process was quite easy, and the Chainlink team is always there to help us. And I think the process went quite streamlined, and we are getting good traction, on this thing as well. So great. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thanks so much. It was a good presentation. De Klerk, did you want to address any of the questions in the chat?
Just quickly, Mike, did you have any on hand that you want to address?
Let's see.
There's one from Mike Solomon regarding using this for automatic governance, if that's something you want to talk about.
Yeah, sure. I think I saw that question. Can we bring that one up, Eli? Okay, cool. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the question, Mike. So currently the automation we have in mind for governance is, or the one we've been working on, is specific to Governor Alpha. So the kind of that compound version of governance. We're working on something similar for Snapshot, so it's totally possible. But yeah, happy to chat with you separately. Maybe we can chat after this. I want to hear more about what you're working on in detail.
I think maybe at this point also it's worthwhile saying, if you have any questions that kind of pop up afterwards that you don't ask now, I'll share a link for the Chainlink Labs Discord, and you can find us in the automation channel if you want to come and ask some automation related questions there. Always happy to help.
Yeah, that's very helpful. We also have one from Hossein asking, it might have been for DefiEdge, asking if they provide API documents.
I'm assuming API documentation related to automation, and definitely that would be in the Chainlink docs. So docs.chain.link, if we can drop a link. And there's a whole section for automation that provides several contracts and examples. Thanks for the question.
Exactly. And I think if it's for the DefiEdge, I think we also provide the API docs for the integrations part. So yeah.
Yeah. Also we are writing a Medium article. Keepers helped us to launching the limit orders. Like so. Yeah.
All right, sweet. This one's for DefiEdge. Where can everyone go to get more information on your docs and smart contracts and everything like that? A Discord, a blog.
Exactly. So we have extensive docs on what DefiEdge is and how you can integrate. So you can always go to the docs.defiedge.io and you could look over to the docs, and you can always hop onto our Discord, and I'm also always there to help you. And everything from like the strategy managers channel to the tech channel, you could go here and ask the specific questions, and you could get the answer in a jiffy.
Right, sweet. We have another question from Alex. Let me just pull that up. Right. Where is it here? Aha, found it. All right. Say each user who has its own interval, can it be stored in the mapping, or does it need to be stored in the encoded check data variable? I believe that's a Chainlink question.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good question, Alex. Thanks. So you can do it either way. If you store if each user stores, let's say, their interval in a mapping, and let's say you create an array of these mappings, you can have that check upkeep function looping through the array and checking to see if anybody's interval is passed. That's one way you could approach it. There are limits to the amount of computation you can do in that check upkeep function, though. So you kind of have to be aware of if that list gets too large, at what point do you have to maybe spin up a second upkeep to maintain that list. So just a few things to consider. You could also create individual upkeeps for each interval that needs to be checked, and then, as you mentioned, use that check data variable as the interval. And then I guess the other important thing to call out generally when thinking about smart contract automation is whenever you're checking some conditions, it's always a good practice to revalidate those conditions in that perform upkeep function when you're actually doing the work. So if you were to store an interval and check data, make sure that you're rechecking that interval is passed in kind of like we saw in the example I shared in perform upkeep.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good call out. Is when the network actually goes and checks if your conditions are eligible, that's happening off chain via a geth call, and so we're simulating state of the chain to see if these conditions are met. So yeah, there is some limit as to the amount of compute that they'll do. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Do you have any more questions from the community?
So here's an interesting one. It's on, are there plans to expand the products of the decentralized finance sector? And I think the answer is yes, because this is why we're here, is to enable developers like yourself on Arbitrum to actually go and build those products. So automation is a product that enables you, as I mentioned, to go and innovate. And today we saw examples of limit orders, but it's really about what can you dream up in terms of DeFi, and that you can use on Arbitrum or build on Arbitrum, and use automation as you see fit. So
All right, thank you. I would agree with that as well. All right, we have one from Singularity. How fast is Chainlink keepers able to react with check upkeep returns when check upkeep returns are true?
So I can tackle this one. And the way that we built it is behind the scenes. Obviously, we run a pipeline, and so as soon as that check upkeep returns true, we are gonna start the next phase of the pipeline, which is essentially to go and get a transaction on chain. So it really depends on the conditions on chain. Like I mentioned, the nodes have the ability to do their own gas management, nonce management, reorgs, etc. And we will also what we call bump gas. So if the node sees that a transaction has not landed on chain within a certain amount of blocks, it'll go and increase the gas price, And so we use pretty high estimates or high percentile estimates to figure out what is the initial gas price we should do, because from automation's perspective, we are biased toward executing your transactions on chain, and hence we try and make sure that we land them. And so if all of a sudden there's an influx of transactions, like the default behavior is going to be let's go and bump. So we have I guess it depends is my answer then. Like I say, we've configured everything to try and get them on chain as soon as possible. And to kind of steal a bit from one of our users, RoboVault, you can go and look at an article they published on Medium where they compared Chainlink Automation versus their own internal automation solution, and I guess other automation solutions in the market. And they found that for their use case, it's about hedging their portfolio or re-hedging their portfolio when the market moves. And when they run all three, like head-to-head, automation versus RoboVault versus the market, they found that automation typically lands the transactions 81% of the time. I think they do something like 18% of the time, and other solutions in the market basically landed the transactions 1% of the time. So we've built a system to be reliable and performant, and we'll continue improving in that way. Thanks.
All right, and then I guess this is a follow-up question to check upkeep by Mike. What's the best practices if check upkeep needs to reach out to an oracle?
Yeah. Thanks again, Mike, for the question. So I guess it depends what exactly we mean by reaching out to an oracle. I guess generally, to answer the question about check upkeep, all the work done in check upkeep is completely free. Now, with that in mind, check upkeep today can only look at the current state of the chain. So if you're referring to an oracle like Chainlink's data feeds as an example, and you want to get the ETHUSD price, the cool thing is in check upkeep, you can just make a call to that contract. You'll get the price of ETHUSD or whatever it is, and you can use that as part of your calculation. And you can even pass some calculation, some really complex calculation that you're doing in check upkeep. You can pass the output of that into perform upkeep by encoding and decoding the data. There's a good and very efficient way to do that. So I guess all that to say, you can save a lot of gas by doing all this computation there. Now, if you needed to reach out to an external oracle or get some data off chain, there's no way to do that natively in check upkeep today, but there are ways you can have an oracle go fetch data off chain, bring it back off chain, bring it back on chain. But that would, I guess, in the current version, would require kind of a transaction per off-chain request. And I see your follow-up kind of response here. So I should find a way to store my off-chain data on-chain so that check upkeep is a cheap operation. Yeah, that's one way to do it. And of course, Chainlink kind of specializes in that. So either way, Mike, afterwards, let's chat, because I'd love to hear what you have in mind and what you're building.
All right, sweet. Maybe we'll broadcast the one-on-one convo with the.
That'll be fun. Let's do it. Bring Mike on stage.
Mike, get up here. Mike versus Mike. All right, great. All right, do we have any questions here from the community at large? All right. I think that's it that I can see here. Is there anything you guys want to address here before we close out the Q&A?
I just want to say thanks so much for the opportunity to talk to the
Right.
community. Really appreciate it, and definitely looking forward to seeing all the innovation that that comes from the community. And yeah, feel free to engage us, as I mentioned, on Discord. Thanks.
Yeah, Discord seems like the best place to get in touch about the development stuff. All right, yeah, thanks for your time, Mike, Declaric, Adesh, and Danger, and everyone who attended today. Appreciate the patience and all the information shared. I always learn a bit from these things, even though I'm not as much a developer. But
Thanks for having us, guys, and I would highly recommend the community and you guys to come and create a strategy around DefiEdge and set up the limit orders. I think it would be a great experience, right? LA, as you mentioned, it's of course great for you to learn new things, and I think this would be one extremely interesting experience, and I think you should give it a try. But once again, thank you for having us. It was great to be here, really.
all right, great. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Amazing.
Happy building.
Cheers all.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.